Okay, we still have a few people joining, so I'll wait a couple minutes. It's nice to see so many of you in attendance. Okay, well, good morning. It's nice to see all of you, especially since we weren't able to meet in January. So we're going to meet a little longer today. And the topics for today's meeting include kind of an overview and a discussion about Perkins 5, and then also an overview and a discussion about advisory committees and how maybe you're using them with your programs, how you can use them, and just a few strategies. So I'm going to share today's presentation. Sorry, my computer is very slow. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yes, we can see it, Anne.
Thank you. I can see it, just to make sure you guys can. Okay, so we're going to start with kind of an overview of Perkins 5, and then also it's going to be two parts. I'm going to give you a few slides for you with information for you to consider and to think about, and then we're going to have a discussion, kind of like a roundtable or just open discussion about what you're doing at your college, maybe with your Perkins money or your Perkins admin, and then also your advisory committees. So again, welcome to the February meeting. Okay, so just a couple of questions for you to consider as we make our way through this meeting and this presentation. So just maybe stop and think about or jot down if you have paper. What do you know about Perkins 5? Or Perkins funding at your college? And do you know who your college's Perkins administrator is? Is that somebody that you have contact with on a regular basis? Somebody that you work with? So keep those questions in mind, and we will discuss in just a little bit. Okay, so just an overview of Perkins. In July of 2018, the Perkins Act was reauthorized, and it was renamed the Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act. And the purpose is to develop more fully the academic knowledge and technical employability skills of secondary and post-secondary education students. And these are students who choose to enroll in CTE programs and programs of study. So here's a little graphic. I know I'm kind of a visual person, so I kind of like to see how it aligns. So here's a little graphic to show how it kind of aligns with other federal programming. And some opportunities in Perkins 5. So the goals or the opportunities of the Act is to really kind of improve or increase alignment between the education that students are getting at your institution and also the workforce systems. Accountability and continuous improvement. How can you be improving your programs to kind of produce students who are going to be the employees that your local workforce needs? We are focusing more on equitable outcomes, and we are hoping to kind of enhance or make a smoother transition with career pathways. We want increased flexibility to scale innovation, and probably one of the most important is we want community engagement and stronger partnerships with employers in your community. How can you produce employees that your local employers want to hire? So the vision and goals of Perkins 5, Illinois supports an aligned, high-quality career pathway system, and it's informed by the industry and community needs. And there are 5 goals. So we want to increase post-secondary and industry-recognized credential attainment. We want to enhance career pathway opportunities. We want to increase early college opportunities, and we want to increase responsiveness to the workforce needs. And finally, we want to make sure that every CTE student has, a high quality education. So you're hiring instructors who are up to date on, current practices, current, up to date on all the current trends in, the field or the area in which they are teaching. Okay, so keeping that in mind, and that's just a brief overview just to kind of get you going. A lot of you are probably familiar with Perkins. I know some of you, work with Perkins and PATH. So just use the chat or feel free to unmute yourself to answer the following questions. So do you use Perkins funds to support your healthcare programs? And if you don't, how could these funds be beneficial to your program?
I know at Lakeland, we use Perkins for instructors are funded, their like conferences are funded through Perkins, and big equipment, new equipment is ran through Perkins to see if funds are available. And then, so it's kind of like we work hand in hand. It's like if Perkins funds it, that's great. And if they're not able to, maybe PATH can pick those things up. But those are the two main ways that we kind of work together with each other. They'll apply for Perkins first, and then what Perkins doesn't pick up, then if it qualifies, then PATH will pick up.
Good. Yeah, I was actually at Lakeland, I think it was November, and had a tour of a lot of the CT areas. I know that she took us to the nursing to show us some of the purchases, that you had used Perkins funds for. I think it was nursing and dental hygiene. So that's good that you're doing that. Anybody else want to share?
We have a couple comments in the chat. So Kelly from Heartland says, yes, Heartland uses both Perkins and PATH to support their healthcare programs. And then Jessica at Kishwaukee said Kishwaukee also uses Perkins and PATH to support healthcare programs. That's great. Amy from Blackhawk says, at Blackhawk, we use both to support students. We use PATH grant dollars first, then Perkins for students. For faculty and equipment, we try Perkins first, although many more programs to stretch the dollars across. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, those are all really good examples. And yeah, the chat disappears. It pops up for a second and then it disappears on my end. So thank you.
Is there anyone who's not familiar with Perkins on the call? No shame, no shame.
Not at all.
I've heard of it at a conference. So I learned a little bit about it, but I probably don't know the bulk of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just the surface.
Absolutely. Yep.
Do you have any questions?
No, I know that some colleges that I've seen, they braided it with definitely healthcare, and I think I saw one that did it with firefighters and police officers, but they did it with like their EMTs. I want to say they'd use Perkins for that.
What's your role at the college, Sarah?
Program assistant for PATH.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we're going to talk about braided funding at another meeting, just to give you some examples of how you can supplement or braid that funding to get, the best experience for your students.
Does everyone know who their Perkins administrator is? Sorry, Anne.
No, you're good. I might know who some of your Perkins admins are off the top of my head, but probably not all of them.
And we don't have any Perkins administrators on the phone, do we? I know Bonnie, that used to be your
I
role.
invited our administrator, but she had another call at the same time. Ours name is Joy Karen, and she is a joy.
She really is.
She is.
Yep.
Sweet, yeah.
The other way Perkins helps is if there is a student that's in like a dire need. For PATH right now, we're not using funds to like help like an emergency fund or anything like that at this time. We're kind of doing more of a tuition reimbursement, and we help with tutoring and stuff. So if there's like a student that's in an immediate need, sometimes I will refer them to Perkins to try to help that immediate need. And then they've also helped with like uniforms and kits and whatnot for the healthcare students as well.
Yeah, I think you guys have a pretty good lending library, don't you? From what I remember
Yes.
at
Yes.
Lakeland. Yeah. Good. Well, if you don't know who your Perkins admin is, that can be your part of your homework for the next meeting is to find out who your Perkins admin is. And maybe make contact with them to see, how you can collaborate and bridge your funding for your students, because a lot of your colleges have submitted like healthcare programs of study for approval so that they can eventually spend Perkins money on the program or buy equipment or whatever it may be. And that maybe you have been a part of that, writing those program of study approval applications. Maybe you haven't. Maybe that's something that you would want to review as well too. But there's a lot of opportunity between the two funding sources to really kind of enhance and make the best experience possible for your students. Okay, before we move on, does anyone else have anything to add or any questions that we can answer? Okay. All right, let's talk briefly about advisory committees as well, because a lot, advisory committees and Perkins kind of go hand in hand, and they probably should with PATH as well, because your advisory committees are going to be kind of your first point of connection with your local workforce, and they'll play a big role in hopefully establishing or helping you establish like clinical hours or internship, externship hours, or any type of maybe post-graduation employment as well. So your advisory committee, it can include representatives from local business, representatives from industry, administrators from their own college, faculty, staff, and of course representatives from transfer institutions as well. So we kind of like to see a varied advisory committee. We don't just want all internal stakeholders, and we don't necessarily want all external stakeholders either. We like to see a nice mix of members on your advisory committee. And the role of your advisory committee is, you really want to advise on the development, the implementation, even the evaluation of your program, because you want to make sure that your program is meeting whatever needs your local employers, your local employers have, and that you're producing, students who are ready to enter the workforce and ready to, work and have familiarity with equipment that they're going to be using when they start their job. And then finally, your advisory committee members are going to provide that expertise regarding technological change, or that expertise of what it's like to be an employee at their at their company. So we like to see kind of a robust advisory committee. We like to see you meeting at least once a year at the minimum, and just really taking the input that they have on maybe your courses or your equipment purchases. Really taking that into consideration as you create or evaluate your program. So, do your healthcare programs have advisory committees? And is your Perkins administrator, does he or she participate on those healthcare advisory committees? Is that person aware of, what your advisory committee talks about?
Our Perkins administrator doesn't attend those meetings regularly, although we could certainly invite him. He is informed about what's happening in those meetings. We usually include any interesting tidbits from the advisory committee meetings in the quarterly Perkins reports, especially if it's related to either curriculum changes or Perkins bought this equipment and the advisory committee was really happy to hear about it, or was a tour as part of, their on-campus meeting. So I think, yes, we have active advisory committee meetings, and there is some overlap between those meetings and what's going on with Perkins, and the administrators informed.
How often does your committee meet, or your committees meet? Do you know?
Once in the fall and once in the spring semesters.
Good.
And we've been trying to do it one on Zoom and then one back in person for our healthcare programs. It's hard though, as many of you know, like so many of our, well, we're a more rural area, so many of our clinical sites are kind of spread all over the place. So the Zoom one tends to be a little bit more better attended just because it's hard to get people to come to campus if they're driving an hour and ends up being like half a day away from their primary responsibilities.
Yeah, I think a lot of schools have that same issue. They have a better attendance when they keep the meetings on Zoom for that reason, whether they're rural or not. But a lot of people are still wanting to get back to that face-to-face meeting as well. So I think that having one virtual and one in person is a good way to balance that.
Yeah, we have better attendance on Zoom, but better participation when they're actually here. Because like all of us, it's easy to get distracted or messages pop up. So, but it's also hard because if we're gonna make them come to campus, we want it to be super meaningful for them and like make it worth their time. So making sure that it's not just sort of a pro forma meeting. Here's a couple curriculum updates. How do we really get them engaged? We did an activity last spring for our nursing advisory committee where we took the essential employability skills and had them rank them as to like what they are seeing the highest need in and like kind of are with good faculty participation too. So it was interesting to see like what our faculty thought that they needed to do as far as working on those employability skills versus what the employers were seeing needs for. And we had several students participating in that one as well. So the students were kind of spread out to hear from, potential employers about, these are great students. So they're doing all the right things already, but just seeing in their peers like, oh, they may not see that all the time.
Was there anything surprising you learned? Like, or were the results kind of what you expected, or was there anything surprising?
Not too surprising. We kind of supplemented some of the essential employability skills with like technical skills just to kind of throw that in there. But pretty much all employers felt that our graduates were coming with the right technical skills or that they would be trained the rest of the way on the job. So those didn't actually even rank as something an employer was looking for. It was really the key ones like communication and professionalism. Then there were some others like we also gave them like a blank card. Like if you think something's missing, what would you add? And some people talked about like emotional intelligence and trying to be able to like, work with the team in that way. So nothing super surprising, but I do think it was really great though. And something that I was happy about is that our faculty and our employers pretty much aligned as to like what they saw were the most important ones.
Oh, that's good. Anybody else have any advisory committee stories to share?
Amy at Blackhawk said, we do have advisory committee meetings for most all healthcare programs, Advisory minutes are sent to Perkins administrators and she is included, although unable to attend all meetings. Thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
And this is Kelly from Heartland Community College. And
Hi,
I will
Kelly.
say ours are pretty similar to what has been mentioned. We do have advisory committees that meet for our individual programs generally twice a year. Our Perkins administrator does not typically attend those, but certainly meeting minutes would be available. And then recently we actually pulled together a larger healthcare advisory focus group just last week in our community to bring together many administrators from some of our large healthcare entities, just to kind of ask them a little bit more broadly where their current needs, their future needs might be in terms of healthcare, rather than talking specifically about program details, just so that we have a better idea if we're meeting the needs of the community, if there's programs that we need to develop. So we do keep in contact with our community partners pretty regularly.
So what did you learn, like as far as that goes?
In the large healthcare focus group,
Yes.
we just provided a little information about some of our programs and then asked them questions about where they're seeing the most job openings, if there's anything that they're seeing in any of our current programs or graduates that, they need more skills at, things like that.
Did you have a good turnout, good participation?
Yeah, we did. I felt like participation was good. That one we did in person. Most of our program advisory meetings are held on Zoom because we get a lot of participation that way from our clinical partners. But yeah, we had a pretty good turnout. We're able to talk a little bit about apprenticeship opportunities, different ways that we might be able to collaborate to meet their needs as well.
How did that go? Because I've been hearing some apprenticeship talk. Was it for nursing or was it just for just healthcare programs in general?
We do have a nursing apprenticeship program, and so that's what we spent a little bit of time talking about. And our community partners kind of started asking some questions about how that might look in other formats for other disciplines. So we just were able to kind of talk through that, answer some questions about it.
Good. Is that OSF? Is that your partner up there, or is that?
Yep, it is.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that some schools had started some type of apprenticeship with OSF, and we're trying to get it, kind of up and running, at least for nurses, definitely. So that's good information. Good.
Yeah, we're also looking at that with OSF as well.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Ann. Start to get an apprenticeship. We're kind of in the early phases of it and have met a couple of times and trying to figure out how that would work. So, but we're pretty OSF driven in our smaller community, so that's who we have to work with. And but I think it's promising.
Do you have people from OSF on your advisory committees?
Oh yeah, they are, and we also do a healthcare networking group that we actually started pre-COVID, and then it kind of fizzled away, and then we brought it back again. Actually, I think we did it in October or November, and we tried to bring together just like we were just talking about, a myriad of people from the community to try to figure out what's going on. We presented some of our programs and some of the things that we're dealing with. They let us know what it's like out in the community, and so it's a great conversation. And we've, the follow through is also very interesting. That's where one of the apprenticeship is kind of coming from. We've started some programs or looked at starting programs based on that healthcare networking group. So, it fizzled during COVID, and now we're trying to bring it back. And so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and you can also use your advisory committees. I'm not sure, because I know finding suitable instructors is always a challenge, or seems to be a challenge, especially in the healthcare fields, because they can make more money in the healthcare field than they can teaching. So you can also use your advisory committees to maybe to help find instructors as well. Have any of you done that with any success? Do you have success finding instructors?
We've found more preceptors. They help us find preceptors. We're looking at resurrecting and nursing our preceptorship for the last semester of the program, especially the last 8 weeks. So they're helping us a great deal, with that. But yeah, beyond that.
Anybody else? Okay, good. So some good information on how you can really utilize your advisory committees, to enhance your student experience. And it's always a good idea to at least make the minutes, available to your Perkins admin, have them join, whenever they can, because a lot of times you can use Ranger Perkins funding to where if you need an equipment purchase or, a supply or something along those lines, you can use, that money to fund that expense, which, helps you kind of since your PATH money is a little more flexible when it comes to student supports, you know, it gives you, you know, the opportunity to kind of set more of that money aside. Is there anything else, you know, since we did meet last month, that you want to talk about either in regards to student support services or how you're using your PATH money to support students? Anything that you want to collaborate with now that we're, you know, we have a decent sized group of you on this call? Because I know just what I've been hearing in the few months that since I've taken over this position is, you know, there is a struggle to find instructors. There isn't a struggle to find clinical sites. You know, some people, you know, some colleges are having trouble, you know, getting them PATH money actually to their students to help them, you know, with certain expenses. So are there anything that you would like to share in regards to any of those topics?
I can share what we've done at Rock Valley for getting
Mhm.
money directly to students. I mean, I do think that we've talked about some similar ideas in the past here,
Okay.
but we created a very simple PATH, we call it the PATH Emergency Fund. And so I really used the foundation emergency fund application and made some really quick adaptations to it. It's one page. It takes them 10 minutes to fill out. With our PATH funds, we hired a retention advisor. So if any healthcare program has it, and she's right in the same building, right down the hall from where the instructors have offices, but they have to go in order to apply for the emergency funds, they need to go meet with Jenny, because as we know, usually it's not just one problem, you know, one
Right.
encounter, you know, what else is going on? Oh, you also need, you know, the whole list of other services and supports that are available here at the college. So they meet with Jenny, they have to fill out the application. Our emergency funds are really just in the form of either food cards, like a grocery
Okay.
store card or a gas card. And those are really the pieces that we found that actually we're ordering more gas cards now, because food, they kind of want to shop where they want to shop. And we're limited by our business office, you know, what accounts or what places we can get gift cards or transportation cards from. But they fill out the application. We have a small committee meeting. It's me, the director of nursing, or the dean, and then the advisor. And we just meet really briefly, and we try to get those turned around in like 2 days, you know, in very quick turnaround for them.
Mhm.
And we're trying to, you know, we're tracking so that we know what other funds they're getting. For instance, if they're already getting funds from WE or workforce development or something like
Mhm.
that. But that's how we're distributing the funds, and getting directly to students for those emergency pieces. And then our other direct to student funds are really, we have a lot of completion certification. You get a stipend after you successfully pass the certification exam, so that you can use those for your job expenses. But those are the ones that are kind of going directly to students. But that emergency, that has worked for us, but it does take some time to figure out with your business office what they will work with.
Yeah, I think a lot of schools were kind of struggling that, you know, with that, especially since business offices don't really want to give cash to students, even though, you know, things have changed. So I think that's really good. I really like the emergency funds and the way that you're handling it too. I know, like, when it comes to gas cards, you know, you can specify when you buy them what they can be spent on. I don't know if that's an issue, so you can specify that they can only be used for gas. I know some colleges were doing that to make it, you know, now we know they're actually using it for transportation or whatever it may be.
I just wanted to talk about what we've done here at McHenry County College for PATH funding. We also did the emergency funding. I was actually hired as the coach to help try to get the money out. And so I set up an application for the students. I visited all the classes that were eligible to apply to really get the word out. And we've had really great success with that. So students do have to fill out an application. They have to provide supporting documentation. If it is an emergency outside of the school, anything pertaining to, it could be transportation, housing, childcare, to name a few, we only do reimbursement based on our accounting office. And so students do have to provide receipts for that. And through this process, they also have to provide, if they paid with a credit card or a bank for accounting purposes, they have to provide the documentation from their bank to kind of show that it came from an account that they are also linked to. We can do tuition and fees, right, done in-house. We can do books from the bookstore, from in-house. So depending on what the students are needing the funding for, we have different avenues that we can go to pay, to have that paid back to the student.
Good. And that's come up before too, is, when you're providing these reimbursements, I've had a couple colleges reach out and say, do I ask for a receipt? What do I do? And I say, that's obviously something that you have to decide based on your internal processes, but I've always said it never hurts to have a receipt to prove that, this is the method in which they paid and that they actually paid for what they say that, they're
Right.
paying for.
Our accounting office really cracked down on it because some students were like paying back, getting money paid by their parents.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so, we don't want to pay anything if their parents paid for it. So that's why we're asking for this paper trail, and that was really required for accounting. And the students really, they understand, right? I am really big about just being open with them. So I explained to them the process, and for those students that really need the funding, they come up with the documentation. Unfortunately, like, our accounting office takes a little while to issue the checks, but really I set that expectation up front that it's probably going to be at least 2 to 3 weeks before you see your check. But when it comes, right, it's going to cover the full cost that you requested. So it's really worked for us. Yeah. From the student side of things, we've done, large purchases on other things. We help with tuition and fees on certain, or books and supplies on certain classes as well. So yeah.
That's good. I like that. And which school? I'm sorry, Corey, which school are you at?
So I'm at McHenry County College.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Any other tips or tricks you have for, supporting students or getting them reimbursements with their PATH funds?
Our two ways that we directly help students are in after they are taking their tests, for certification. Well, before they finish the program, they'll fill out like a reimbursement form that says, it's going to be $300 for the certification test. And then when they complete that and they're successful in it, when they've gotten, a pass result, then they send that back to us and then we reimburse them for the cost of the testing. So that's one of the direct ways we're helping. And then we did develop a application for tuition reimbursement. And the way it was set up was at successful completion of the semester. So after the semester ended, we look at their out-of-pocket expense and then give them, depending on how much they had left over to pay, if they had other scholarships and whatnot, but we're directly helping after the application is received and the semester is ended successfully.
So are you looking for like a pass, they pass with a fee? I mean, how are you defining successful completion? Obviously they passed the semester, right?
Yeah.
I think there's another college that's doing something similar, like completion stipends or something like that on a semester basis as well, to kind of just motivate them to stick with it and to, earn those passing grades. And then they offer them some type of completion stipend or bonus or something to put onto their account in financial aid, and then they can withdraw it that way, I think. I've heard other schools doing. I don't know if that's something that's easier for your colleges to go through financial aid and have it added to the student's account. And have them get the money that way. But I do know, I think maybe Johnny Logan is doing it that way. Okay, good. These are all really good ideas for, using your PATH funds to support students. Do any of you have like on-campus like food pantries or snack cabinets that students use, or that get utilized a lot or that are successful?
Sorry, excuse me. Our student services have a pantry. And they also started doing one for after hours when they're closed. And we do have a lot of our students who do go over there. One in particular, they help him out a lot because he's actually in a homeless shelter and can't have food. So they help him, let him store a couple things there. And then after hours for night students, they have a cabinet that they unlock that has food for people too. And a lot of our students tell each other where they are.
That's nice. That's good. So it looks like
I forgot too, one of the things that they do, not only do they have a food pantry and they collect like jackets for babies and stuff like that in case a parent comes in for diapers and stuff like that too.
okay.
They also take business clothes. Like if you are going to, instead of taking them to Goodwill, you can turn them into the school. They prefer they be dry cleaned first, but then if somebody needs a suit or a nice outfit for an interview, they can come to the student services food pantry and see what they have, and if they have anything that will fit them and help them out.
That's good. I've heard of other schools doing those kind of like career services, having some type of lending library, so to speak, of professional clothes for job interviews and things like that. So really good idea as well. Anybody else? Oh, at Lincoln Land, each PATH staff has food in their offices as well. That's a good way to do it too. Sometimes maybe they're more comfortable coming to somebody that they know, or rather than going to the food pantry. Partnership with Goodwill to give them an opportunity to get professional clothes. That's a really good idea. I'll mark that down myself. Do you know how you establish that? Was that Corey who said that? Sorry, the chat disappears pretty quickly once you type it in on my end right now.
Hi, yes. So yeah, here at MCC, that's not something that I do as the PATH coordinator, but we have different people in our student services divisions that kind of have established that. So we call it the purple closet for all the professional clothes, including scrubs, like, if they need anything for any of the areas, they can go to, this partnership with Goodwill. And then the food pantry, right? So actually I'm in the healthcare building, which is really far away from the cafeteria. So they focused on more meals for those students. So they have like cup of noodles and mac and cheese and mashed potatoes and stuff like that. And those were all based on donations from the food pantry, because from my understanding, I don't think I can buy food with my grant funding. So we're doing all these partnerships over here.
No, but that's good. I think it kind of encourages all of these other departments to kind of work together and see how you can help each other out. So that's good. All good stuff. Anyone else want to share before I only have a couple slides left. So if there's anything else you want to share about, how you're using your PATH funds to help students directly, because I do, like I said, I know I've heard that that's a struggle Sometimes, with the business office or financial aid or whatever it may be, a struggle getting the funds directly to the students.
Over here at MCC, we also did purchase 10 laptops with PATH funds because some students were really struggling. And so, yeah, those are all through our application as well.
So do you do like a laptop loan, or do they borrow it for the semester, or how does that work?
No, we purchased them, so they get to keep them. So it was a partnership with our IT department, and the students really, they get the laptop. So, right, they get the support through the Lenovo, which is the company, through the laptop. And yeah, it's gone really well so far. Really helped out students that really, really needed it.
That's good.
Hi, Ann. This is Susan with
This is
Heartland.
Kwame from Joliet Junior College.
Oh, wait.
Go ahead, Kwame.
So I think one thing that we do is that we've centered our attention on mental health and nutrition, which I think goes together. So we have a clinical case manager coming to the PATH office because our building is kind of separated from the main campus. So we have a clinical case manager in our office on Mondays at the main campus, and then on Tuesdays at the Romeoville campus where our CNA program is housed. And, to talk to students who are having difficulties with mental health issues. And we also provide meals at our office in terms of snacks and drinks and donuts and all that. So students can just walk in and feel free to talk to us, developing that sense of belongingness for students, for them to feel at home. I think another thing that we do that is really big is that we have an auto department that is kind of allows staff and students to bring their cars in order to train the students in the program. So regarding transportation assistance to our students, we tell our students to take their cars over there. Usually, all they do is pay for parts, and that's where we use our PATH funds to support our students as well. So it makes it really cheaper for them to do their car services because they don't pay for labor, which is like the biggest thing when you have a car.
Definitely. I like how that's a good collaboration. I like that, how you encourage them to go, to another program on campus that, to have those types of things done. So I think that's a really good idea.
Thank you. That's it.
No, that's good. I like that. Susan, were you going to say something?
Yeah, at Heartland, our health sciences programs, we cover we use a screening program for background checks and documentation of health requirements. So we pay for that for the health sciences students, the programs. We pay for students' uniforms. Depending on the program they're in, they may get more than one set of uniforms. And we also pay for their licensure examinations when they're done with the programs. And for some of our programs, that can be pretty expensive.
I would bet, yeah.
If we can purchase vouchers, we'll do it that way. Otherwise, it ends up just being a stipend that they get to pay for those registration and licensure costs.
Good.
Those are the bigger things we're doing.
All good ideas. I like that. Good. Very helpful. Anybody else? So yeah, I think especially like with Kwame's point about, sending students for services that can be taken care of on campus by other programs, that's something that I think that's pretty innovative that maybe could solve some issues too, as far as, some of the financial burden. So maybe keep that in mind too. I like that a lot. Okay. Okay, so we're going to be back on, the monthly meetings. So our next meeting will be next month in March via WebEx. And would it be easier if I send out like some type of survey to determine the date? Would that be easier for you, or do we just want to do, a month from today?
Either works for me. I mean,
Like if we keep it on a Tuesday, it would be March 12th, it looks like, or we can send out a survey. Does March 12th work for everybody?
March 12th works here. I mean, I think that that would work
I don't
fine,
think that
keeping
will
it on the
conflict.
same.
I don't think that would conflict with your other learning community, Bonnie. I'm not sure, though. I'm not sure how far in advance those dates are set.
Yeah, I don't think that date is set out there yet, so I'm
Okay,
not.
if that works for everybody, then we'll just set it at March 12th, and I'll get that invitation and that calendar hold out to you today, if that works. Not seeing any no's.
Looks like the Path Apprenticeship Learning Community is the next day. It's the 13th.
Is it the 13th? Perfect. Okay. I just don't want to conflict. I know some of you are into learning communities, so I don't want to conflict or not make it to where you can't attend one. So, okay, we will set it for the 12th then, and I'll send that calendar hold later today. Okay. So we did that. We got it announced, and then let's see. So we're kind of wrapping up our spring semester, believe it or not. So, tentative topics are listed on that slide. If there's anything that you want to talk about that you feel would be, beneficial, please send an email to Tasha or myself, or we can start a list now if that helps you. So we can get, kind of, you get the best information out of these sessions. But we're thinking right now, we'll talk a little bit about braided funding in March. How can you braid your Perkins funding with your PATH funding? And we can always tack something else on as well if there's something that you're struggling with, or you would like a chance to collaborate on a certain topic with the people who at the meeting. April, I think, will still be held in conjunction. It'd be a whole PATH learning community. We're working on that. And I think we are working on a possible in-person meeting. We just have to kind of iron out some details. But yeah, so anything that you would like to talk about, please don't hesitate to suggest it.
is the in-person meeting for just this cohort or for all PATH?
It might be for all, I think. We'll have to work those details out. I'll get back to you, and we'll obviously send an email with plenty of time for you to kind of set that time aside. But I believe people were asking for like a whole PATH in-person meeting, right? Chance to collaborate and share ideas.
Yeah, it would be
For the whole
group. And if it doesn't happen in May, it's maybe something we can think about for the beginning of FY25, after you all get your programs up and running and get the school year started a little bit. Maybe just having like a kickoff year for the new fiscal year. So.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else that you'd like to address in today's meeting, we can let you go a little bit early.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.